So today has started off on a very similar note to what we dealt with yesterday. Some overseas dumping, some drop in terms of the price there. However, it is not at the same rate that it was the day prior. In fact, there have been some large entities that have stepped in throughout the crypto market that have done some accumulating. And we're going to find out, hey, are we holding this recovery trend, or are we going to do a couple retests here? And I want to talk about that in this video with you guys. Do want to talk about actually what Jerome Powell was saying yesterday. Does this cause some confusion about what to expect heading into the next two rounds of potential rate cuts? We'll discuss all that and more in this video. So if you guys are new or haven't already, show your support for the channel down below. Hit that subscribe button, that bell. It's free to do. It'll keep you updated anytime there's new content live here on the channel. So you guys can see that yesterday we did in fact finish on a red note. Today we started on a red note yet again. But I have to say I was very impressed with how the U.S. market decided to react yesterday, because you can see that yesterday's money, basically from 7 a.m. Central Standard Time to 7 p.m. Central Standard Time, we actually increased by 3.23%. And this can very much be demonstrated on the hourly candles. You guys can see that as soon as that U.S. hourly candle or U.S. 12-hour candle open, it was pump city. We ran all the way from 66 cents all the way above 70 cents. We were looking really good. Actually, we did even get kind of an overnight pump here to almost 72 cents. This took place at about 3 a.m. or so. Last several hours have been dumping, and it looks like right now overseas money is trying to push us towards this recovery trend that we've been on. You guys can see the multiple taps on the bottom that has led to several extensions here. And so now it's a question of, hey, are we going to come down and test this? And then maybe that's where we try to fight, past 74 cents or so, or do we get pushed back down, retesting 66 cents, maybe even down to 74 cents? Again, none of this is a guarantee or financial advice or anything like that. But I will say that when U.S. money wakes up and they pump the charts, that's usually a really good sign. And we're not seeing this just from retail. This has been from big entities throughout the crypto market. Obviously, we're seing BTC. I need to get rid of this. BTC right now, we are seeing a hold around 112K or so. We did obviously get that rejection off of that longer term trend like we talked about. We did get a bounce off of our bottom side trend here. So we're kind of just, we're chopping around trying to make our way. But when you're getting Ethereum bouncing back up to 4,100, that's a great sign. When you're getting institutional money stepping in and buying again, also a great sign. We've had a very distinct flip from institutional money from the early part of the week and the back half of last week. We can see $236 million worth of Ethereum bought by institutional players over the last 24 hours. BlackRock did no accumulation on the Ethereum side. They're doing their last little bit of dumping on the BTC side. They're down to 30 million dumped over the last 24 hours. And overall, $102 million worth of BTC accumulated by institutional players. So the fact that we're holding price right now, it's kind of setting us up for a very good day. And I will say that today's overnight drop is not what it was on yesterday's overnight drop. You guys remember yesterday's overnight drop was like 7%. Today is about 1%. So we're actually set up pretty well for the mid to back half of the week. And hopefully we can just see the continued confidence in the crypto market. One thing I did want to point to is we obviously talked about whales yesterday. There were some new whale wallets created. That's awesome. And in fact, during this period of October 12th through October 14th, there are two very distinct groups that did in fact increase their balances. In fact, those holding 1 billion ADA or more increased their holdings from 1.5 billion to 1.59 billion. So they bought 90 million ADA during that time. And mid-tier wallets, which I think this is a big indicator here, those holding between 10 million to 100 million ADA increased their holdings from 13.18 billion to 13.29 billion. Not a crazy amount. That's obviously 110 million ADA they purchased during that time. This is the group that tends to be more speculative. They tend to be more wishy-washy. They tend to follow the trends a little bit more. So during this time, as we've been in this dip, they stepped in, they bought, they're building their positions. And that usually, again, is a big indicator like we've talked about. So these groups combined have added 200 million ADA over a several day period. And that might be a very distinct pivot for the crypto market. I'm not saying that's going to be the case for sure, guys, because obviously things can change very quickly in crypto. You can see the US candle open and dump, but obviously hoping that's not the case. We're still seeing strong volume throughout the crypto market. Doesn't look like things have slowed down here at all. Now, we did get a little bit of a curveball yesterday. It's kind of an odd, Jerome Powell tends to play things pretty close to the vest, but this is kind of a weird comment. Fed Chair Jerome Powell said pre-shutdown data indicated U.S. economic growth may exceed expectations. So, and it's a question of how bad were those expectations or how good were those expectations? We obviously know we had a strong GDP report last quarter, and our next GDP report is supposed to come out later this month. We're a couple weeks away from that. Is this in relation to the jobs data? So the good thing about this is it shows that we're not necessarily tipping into the big R. We're not necessarily flirting around a potential recession or a big drop off in terms of economic activity, which would obviously scare the crap out of people and make people sometimes pull their assets from the markets. But it also it's not forcing the Fed's hand in the way that you want, if that makes sense. We had talked about this about a month ago when the Fed did finally do their first rate cut in about a year. And their hand was basically forced into doing so because the jobs data was becoming so poor. And so now they may just kind of slow things down a little bit. There's obviously 2 rate cut periods that are coming up here, one this month, one in December, that we have to watch closely. Like we talked about, the likelihood for rate cuts in those meetings is very, very high. And so maybe this just slows that down just a little bit. The Fed was split, if you guys remember, to the side that they were saying, yes, we're going to do 2 rate cuts. So hopefully the data continues to be quote unquote weak enough to where the Fed is going to cut rates, but also strong enough to where there's not this panic, if that makes sense for people. It's kind of a weird double-edged sword that we're dealing with. Now, something I did want to point to here as well is Minturn had posted this. He said Cardano is ready for global financial reset starting November 22nd, 2025. Every international bank transfer must run on the ISO 20022 compliant blockchains, and ADA is already compliant with this. There are several other blockchains that are as well. But obviously, when we talk about embrace for institutional enterprise grade blockchains, that's something that Cardano has been preparing for a very long period of time. And we might be starting to see that shift where you again can see bigger embrace of these types of blockchains. So I just wanted to bring that to your guys' attention as well. But we'll obviously see how the day progresses. I'm hoping for a nice, steady, calm day, but you guys know how crypto goes. That's not always the case. ADA, $1.5 billion in trading volume over the last 24 hours, looking very comfortable in these price ranges. So again, hopefully we continue to hold. Hopefully we can get this bounce off of this trend here and, try to extend and see some prices that we hadn't seen since Friday. So I appreciate you guys. I hope you enjoyed the video. Let me know your thoughts below. What do you think we're going to get today? Do we see more of the same? Do we see this continued recovery as the week progresses? But have a great day. Show your love below. Catch you guys in the next one. Take care.